Mr. Zuckerberg, if you've messaged anybody this week, would you share with us the names of the people you've messaged?
Senator, no, I would probably not choose to do that publicly here.
I think that may be what this is all about. Your right to privacy, the limits of your right to privacy, and how much you give away in modern America in the name of, quote, connecting people around the world.
Tonight, here a warning about Facebook and what some believe it's doing to kids. The warning comes from two of the company's earliest executives.
We kind of knew something bad could happen.
Chamath Palihapitiya, a former Facebook executive once in charge of user growth, now says he has tremendous guilt about the social network he helped build.
We have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works.
Former Facebook president Sean Parker recently said the initial goal was to get people hooked.
You're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. The inventors, creators understood this consciously, and we did it anyway.
You can search the web with real and organic search results and do it without anyone tracking your activity or data. We ourselves use Atlas VPN to protect our data online. Atlas VPN is more than just any other VPN. It blocks all malicious links, ads, and trackers, and notifies you when someone is trying to spy on or steal your data. If you want to grab Atlas VPN, they have a great deal going on right now for just $1.70 a month and 6 months extra for free. We've provided a link in the description you can use to grab this deal. Try it out with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Not only does it protect your data, it also keeps your searches completely private. Also, protect unlimited devices at once. No limits are set. One subscription only for the best price. That's why we use Atlas. Oh, did we forget to mention it saves you a lot of money booking online? It's that easy. Grab Atlas VPN using the link in the description and secure your data today.
People need to hard break from some of these tools and the things that you rely on. The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth. Bad actors can now manipulate large swaths of people to do anything you want.
We know that Google is tracking us. We agree to it when we set up our phones. So we wanted to figure out what exactly Google is learning about us throughout the day. So here's what we're going to do. We have two identical phones. The only difference between these two phones is this one is in airplane mode. Both of the phones lack a SIM card, and they haven't been set up to access any Wi-Fi networks. So for all intents and purposes, these phones have no connection to a data network. We're going to keep them with us throughout the day. And while I travel around DC, we're going to figure out just what Google is finding out about me. Our tour around town was a 14-mile journey that lasted more than an hour. The entire time, the phones had no access to the internet. Oh my goodness. Not a Wi-Fi connection and not any cellular data service. It almost seemed quaint to assume that Google wouldn't even be able to collect data on me. Both of our phones, exactly how we left with them. So let's find out what they know. This is our man-in-the-middle device. It's basically a Wi-Fi network that these phones are going to connect to once we turn their Wi-Fi on. It's going to pass data through it on the way to Google. But on the way, we're actually going to get a copy of the same data that Google's going to get. We'll be able to decrypt it and then find out where we've been throughout the day. Within minutes, the numbers rolled in. The phone that wasn't on airplane mode registered more than 100 locations, 130 activities, and even 152 barometric readings. As soon as it hooked up to our Wi-Fi, it transmitted 300 kilobytes of data straight to Google. The phone even logged our exact locations, tracking us all around town, the Capitol, the hospital, the school, and the cathedral. Now you may notice what's missing here is the exact route that we took, but it got that data too. It knows when I got out of the car. The metadata has a time log down to the very second, tracking everything when they think that you're walking, riding, and yes, even getting out of the car. Okay, so you're thinking, this isn't a big deal. I'll just put my phone in airplane mode. Yeah, we thought of that too. This is the other phone that we had with us that no SIM card also remained in airplane mode the entire time. Let's see what kind of data it captured. The phone with airplane mode activated actually logged more locations and activities than the other phone, and it also transferred hundreds of kilobytes of data to Google as soon as it was activated. The only thing that's missing from this map is our stop at the Children's Hospital, but it still knows we were there. There it is. Exiting vehicle, 100% accuracy. Through complicated user agreements and free software, Google gets users to sign away their privacy for nothing.
The fallout is already hurting Facebook. A billionaire tech entrepreneur Elon Musk deleted his personal page and those for his SpaceX and Tesla car ventures. WikiLeaks editor Julian Assange has also lashed out at the social network on Twitter. Others are rushing to do the same too, with the hashtag #DeleteFacebook trending.
So when significant stress starts to show up in their lives, they're not turning to a person, they're turning to a device. They're turning to social media. They're turning to these things which offer temporary relief. We know, the science is clear, we know that people who spend more time on Facebook suffer higher rates of depression than people who spend less time on Facebook.
1 billion of us own a smartphone, and we know how addicting it can be. One former Google employee says this is no accident. Indeed, it is by design.
Have you noticed if you ever log into Twitter, as an example? So there's an extra delay that you don't know how long it's going to take. It's between 2 and 3 seconds, where the number of new notifications on Twitter you have. So why is that there? Well, it makes that into what's called a variable schedule reward. It's like a slot machine. So you're playing the slot machine, and there's a time delay, and in that time delay, your anticipation's building, and then you get to see how many notifications I get. And so you become more addicted to checking it again the next time.
It sounds like there's just a lot of sort of trickery going on here.
I call it the race to the bottom of the brainstem to, get people's attention at all costs. Never before in history have 50 mostly male 20 to 35-year-old designers living in California working at 3 tech companies influenced how 1 billion people spend their time.
In a 2009 interview with the longtime CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, who, when asked about all the different ways his company is causing invasions of privacy for hundreds of millions of people around the world, said this. He said, if you're doing something that you don't want other people to know, maybe you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Now, there's all kinds of things to say about that mentality. The first of which is that the people who say that privacy isn't really important, they don't actually believe it. The very same Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google, ordered his employees at Google to cease speaking with the online internet magazine CNET after CNET published an article full of personal, private information about Eric Schmidt, which it obtained exclusively through Google searches and using other Google products. This same division can be seen with the CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, who in an infamous interview in 2010 pronounced that privacy is no longer a, quote, social norm. Last year, Mark Zuckerberg and his new wife purchased not only their own house, but also all 4 adjacent houses in Palo Alto for a total of $30 million in order to ensure that they enjoyed a zone of privacy that prevented other people from monitoring what they do in their personal lives.
When Facebook was getting going, I had these people who would come up to me and they would say, I'm not on social media. And I would say, okay, you will be. And then they would say, no, I value my real life interactions. I value the moment. I value presence, and I value intimacy. And I would say, well, you're a conscientious objector. That's okay. You don't have to participate, but we'll get you eventually. and like, I don't know if I really understood the consequences of what I was saying.
So, before we move off this privacy thing, can you explain what this instant personalization thing was that you did and why you did it and what's the value of it to your users?
Maybe I should take off the hoodie.
Take off the hoodie.
Go ahead.
You want to? You want? Go ahead. Here. Can you get someone?
No,
We're not even yelling at you.
Yeah.
Yet.
We're not going to yell at
No, we're not. Of course not. That is a warm hoodie.
Yeah, no, it's a thick hoodie. It's a company hoodie. We print our mission on the inside.
What? Oh, my
really?
God, the inside of the hoodie, everybody. Take a moment. What is it? Making the
world more open and connected.
Oh my God, it's like a secret cult. Look at that, making the world open and connected, stream graph platform, and this weird symbol in the middle that is probably for the Illuminati.
The question basically of what information Facebook's collecting, who they're sending it to, and whether they ever asked me in advance my permission to do that. Is that a fair thing for a user of Facebook to expect?
Yes, Senator. I think everyone should have control over how their information is used. And as we've talked about in some of the other questions, I think that is laid out in some of the documents. But more importantly, you want to give people control in the product itself. So the most important way that this happens across our services is that every day people come to our services to choose to share photos or send messages. And every single time they choose to share something, they have a control right there about who they want to share it with. But that level of control is extremely important.
They certainly know within the Facebook pages who their friends are, but they may not know, as has happened, and you've conceded this point in the past, that sometimes that information is going way beyond their friends, and sometimes people have made money off of sharing that information.
Has disrupted ordinary life as we know it, life in the office, personal life, life on our cell phones, and it's connected us with hundreds of people that we know personally from school and our neighbors and our friends in ordinary life, and with hundreds, perhaps even thousands more people that we don't know personally, but who we may share common interests with, or who may thumbs up our post or like or watch something that we do. And it's just already radically changed things in many respects. But that's just the very beginning, because the idea of a social network is about to take on a profoundly radical change that could make everything else we've seen on the internet so far seem meaningless. And this new era is just beginning. It's just taking off, and the potential for this radical change is just immediately evident if you let sink in what's going on. And these changes are just taking hold. For the first time, researchers at Cornell University have linked up the brains of multiple people using brain-to-brain interfaces so they can collaborate and work on specific problems. In the case of this study, the problem was to win at the game of Tetris. And so they linked up 3 people, and they're calling this system BrainNet. These researchers say we present BrainNet, which to our knowledge is the first multi-person, non-invasive, direct brain-to-brain interface for collaborative problem solving. The interface combines electroencephalography, that's EEG, to record brain signals and transcranial magnetic stimulation to deliver information non-invasively to the brain. Now that part they've been able to do for many years, but they're starting to really use it in a targeted way. They write the interface allows 3 human subjects to collaborate and solve a task using direct brain-to-brain communication. 2 of the 3 subjects are senders whose brain signals are decoded using real-time EEG data analysis. Now if you've seen the film The Minds of Men, that's one of the most important points that emerged out of the study of cybernetics and out of the study of the brain in the attempt to modify it. The ability to use real-time EEG data analysis to read the brain and to write the brain.
In chimpanzee Batty, brainwaves telemetered from the left and right amygdala were received and automatically analyzed by an online analog computer. This instrument was instructed to recognize a specific pattern of waves. The computer was also instructed to activate a stimulator. Each time the waves appeared, radio signals were sent to Patty's brain to stimulate a point known to have negative reinforcing properties. Electrical stimulation of one cerebral structure was contingent upon specific EEG patterns in another area of the brain.
Here they're using the decoding of real-time EEG data analysis to extract decisions about whether to rotate a block in a Tetris-like game before it's dropped to fill in a line. I'm sure everybody knows how the game works. The sender's decisions are transmitted via the internet to the brain of a third subject, the receiver, who cannot see the game screen. The decisions are delivered to the receiver's brain via magnetic stimulation of the occipital cortex. The receiver integrates the information received and makes a decision using EEG interface about whether to turn the block or keep it in the same position. And in a second round, they have a chance to validate and say, was that what you meant to do here? Yes or no, and they can confirm. And they used 5 different groups of these 3 people, and they had an overall accuracy in this study of 81.3%. They pretty much got it right. They did pretty well, and I'm sure they have the capability of improving over time. They also ran a variable where they interjected artificial noise into one of the sender signals, and they found that the receiver was able to even discern between which of the 2 senders was more reliable and which one they trusted more. And chillingly, these Cornell researchers conclude that their results raise the possibility of a future brain-to-brain interface that enables cooperative problem solving by humans using a social network of connected brains. That's the social network of the future. And here's a report on it in Science Alert, and this just came out in the last couple days, so this is brand new. And so as the 2 senders are deciding what decisions to make in Tetris, as they watch the game screen, they're asked to look at one of 2 flashing LEDs at the side of their computer screen, one flashing at 15 hertz and the other at 17 hertz, which produces a transmagnetic cranial stimulation signal in the brain that's then translated into EEG brain waves, and then that is sent over the internet to the receiver. So they're already doing this, and so BrainNet is specifically designed to work over the internet. It works even across the web. So they do have to have some kind of prosthetic EEG cap they put on and some kind of machine that modifies the brain waves according to the decision. But once they have that, the people can connect and communicate non-verbally just through their brains over the internet. In spite of space or time or even language barriers, people will theoretically be able to work together in a group communication using their minds alone. And that is the literal definition of a hive mind. We've heard about the coming of a hive mind. This is one giant step forward for mankind towards no longer being human and becoming something else. Definition 1, the property of apparent sentience in a colony of social insects acting as a single organism, each insect performing a specific role for the good of the group. Second definition, a collective consciousness analogous to the behavior of social insects in which a group of people become aware of their commonality and think and act as a community, sharing their knowledge, thoughts, and resources. And they use as an example the global hive mind that's emerged with Twitter and Facebook. Just a metaphor, right? And the second part of that definition, such a group mentally characterized by uncritical conformity and a loss of sense of individuality and personal accountability. Well, that's the danger, isn't it? But the scientists at Cornell are, of course, not the only people working on it. Melissa reported on this several months ago with the work of Regina Dugan and Facebook in their Building 8 research collective, where they're working on some very serious and far-reaching, futuristic technological things. They've been working for at least a couple years now on a device that they plan to use that would allow people to type out words using a brain-computer interface. And if it goes according to plan, they would strap something onto the head, some kind of prosthetic device, and it would use an optical technique to decode the speech based on optically reading neurons inside your brain non-invasively and then translating those into speech, into letters and words. And they are hoping to get to the point where it can reach 100 words a minute, which is much faster than they can do now. And they're going to use a variety of infrared light reading technology because the brain works partially based on photons, or at least photons have been shown to modify the brain. And so the use of these light waves can quickly and accurately read brain waves. And they're hoping that even if they can't get to the point right away of typing 100 words a minute based on interpreting the part of your brain that sends speech into your vocal organs, that they can at least master a yes or no, click or don't click function that they say would be basically a brain mouse. And so
Facebook is attempting to create a mind-reading device so its users can think their Facebook posts directly into the platform without having to type anything.
What if you could type directly from your brain? It sounds impossible, but it's closer than you may realize. We're talking about decoding those words, the ones you've already decided to share, by sending them to the speech center of your brain. In a few years' time, we expect to demonstrate a real-time silent speech system capable of delivering 100 words per minute.
So Facebook and Regina Dugan, who's a very interesting character, if you're not familiar with her, I won't spoil it for you, you can look up, we've done a number of videos on her over the years. They're very much involved in some very serious technology. They are connected to DARPA and the military projects. It's very clandestine and covert on one side of it, and it's very much technology in Silicon Valley on the other side of it. And they're creating a path to a future that very few, if any of us, saw coming, and very few, if any of us, are going to be readily adapted to. Yes, they can use it for people who have disabilities, who can't talk, who can't communicate. Yes, they can use it to efficiently get work done and possibly make people's lives better. But at what cost? At what cost is this technology going to eat into, first of all, the freedom inside of our brain, the last remaining freedom that Orwell talked about in 1984, when they have everything else in society controlled, when it's regimented, when they watch you on telescreens, when the people you interact with spy on you, when everything you do is tracked and traced and cataloged, you know, you still at least have the freedom inside your brain. Or at least you did up until the point that Orwell wrote that in 1948 and the year that he projected in 1984. But today, your quote-unquote cognitive liberty, the freedom inside your brain, is very much under threat. It's being eroded day by day in studies like this. And on the one hand, it's incredible what they could do with technology. On the other hand, I mean, they are now linking people's brains up to work in a collective, literally to work in a hive mind. And they're looking forward and saying this activity is the next generation of social networks. The new social network is one of connected brains, directly connected brains interacting over the internet.
Here you can see Sake, it's one of our other monkeys, typing on a keyboard. Now, this is telepathic typing. So to be clear, this is he's not actually using a keyboard. He's moving the cursor with his mind to the highlighted key. Now technically, can't actually spell, and so I don't want to oversell this thing. But what's really cool here is Sake the monkey is moving the mouse cursor using just his mind, moving the cursor around to the highlighted key, and then spelling out what we want to spell. But and then so this is something that could be used for somebody who's say quadriplegic or tetraplegic human. Even before we make the spinal cord stuff work, is being able to control a mouse cursor, control a phone. And we're confident that someone who has basically no other interface to the outside world would be able to control their phone better than someone who has working hands. I think it's also important to show that Sake actually likes doing the demo and is not like strapped to the chair or anything. So it's yeah. So the monkeys actually enjoy doing the demos, because they get the banana smoothie, and it's kind of a fun game. So I guess Smart Trim is like, we care a great deal about animal welfare, and I'm pretty sure, like, our monkeys are pretty happy, you know. So as you can see, a quick decision maker on the fruit front. So for the first two applications we're going to aim for in humans are restoring vision, and I think this is like notable in that even if someone has never had vision ever, like they were born blind, we believe we can still restore vision.
We can stimulate neural activity in the brain by injecting current through every channel. This is important because it allows us to bypass the eye and generate a visual image in the brain directly. In this image, I've highlighted the calcarine sulcus in red in an MRI. It contains a map of the visual world, the visual field. It's about a surface area equal to a credit card on each side. One of the seminal discoveries was that every cell in the visual cortex represents only a tiny part of the visual field. Your perception is made up of a mosaic of tiny receptive fields, each belonging to a single cell in your visual cortex. So if you record from one of these cells in a monkey, say in this location, you can find a very tiny region of the screen where a light stimulus will cause modulation of that neuron. This is a schematic of what a visual prosthesis using our N1 device might look like. A camera, the output from a camera would be processed by an iPhone, for example, which would then stream the data to the device, and the image would be converted into a pattern of stimulation of the electrodes into visual cortex. With 1,000 electrodes, we might be able to produce an image resembling something that you see there on the right.
So our first steps along these dimensions for our device is what we call the N1 implant. It's a size of about a quarter, and it has over 1,000 channels that are capable of recording and stimulating. It's microfabricated on a flexible thin film arrays that we call threads. It's fully implantable and wireless, so no wires, and after the surgery, the implant is under the skin and it is invisible.